a big welcome. Thank you for coming, attending our inauguration of the exhibition illustrating Savitri. I'm Helmut. I think most of you know me. I happened to join the Savitri reading circle in the beginning of the 80s. And this reading circle still exists today and reads in that big hall which you probably know. During the course of time, a lot of people got interested in Savitri, not only here in the area, furniture in Auroville, but in the whole world. And we started a lot of Bhavan mainly, who was part of that reading group, corresponding with all kinds of people. And this led to the naturally idea that we should have a proper place, an address and a telephone, or let's say a fax number. Internet was not yet invented. And in the beginning of the 90s, one of our secretary, Dr. Day, he joined that reading group and he institutionalized the group very much and pressed us all to go ahead, find a plot and make something out of it. And we asked here the planners in Auroville, what can you offer us? And they offered us a plot in different locations. One of them was this here, which is not ideal. I don't have to go into details about it, but we decided on it because it was in the international area, in the international zone, and we thought Savitri has a special international radiance. When we had this plot, of course, people said, yeah, since I was the only architect in the group, we only need a bathroom and a meeting room and an office. And I tried to convince them we should think much bigger and should think what could be in 30 or 50 years. And this was pretty successful. We agreed on a certain space requirements, quite ambitious. But then the question, of course, came up, how much will it cost? How will this be financed by whom? We didn't have anything. And they were quite upset that I thought a bit so big, because I answered in crores, whereas they think, oh, lakhs, please do something with a few lakhs or so. But there was one member in that group, Sina Nair, a doctor. She said, I have some experience with fundraising, and I know a couple of people. I will go and visit them, let's see what comes out. When she came back after some time, she said, I have talked to a famous Indian dancer and singer, Hema Malini. And she said, I'm reading Savitri and I'm thinking even about a dance performance on Savitri. And whenever you organize an event for me, it will go towards Savitri Bhavan in Auroville. So we were quite excited, of course, and took immediately this thread, and the whole group went for 3 weeks to Gujarat, the triangle Surat, Baroda and Navsari, and we rented a big hall of 1,000 seats and so on, and paid a lot of money in advance, and visited people. I remember coming with a model which you see up there, showing it to the Council of Architecture in the area, things like this. And more or less we were begging, instead of 500 rupees, please pay 5,000 rupees for an entrance. And indeed, the whole event was finished. I was astonished because I had no idea who is Hema Malini, but when I went to the railway station where she came with a big group from Bombay, it was completely clogged with people. I couldn't go to the platform, and only with police help, I could go there, and then I realized maybe this will be really successful after all. So when it was over, we came indeed back here and had earned 7 lakhs. But our whole project was probably 2 to 3 crores. So I convinced the people to start small and consider this as a mini Savitri Bhavan, and we started the very first phase. Nirod Bhavan from the ashram, whom you all know, supported us a lot and put foundation stones and inaugurated the first phase. It was 1999. That means last year we could celebrate 20 years of Savitri Bhavan. Just by the way. So, and in this course of our construction, when people noticed, oh, these people, they are doing it, it was relatively easy to get more funds because they somehow thought, oh, we can be trusted or something like this, I don't know. And with different donors, private, and the government of India, and so on, we could finish the whole complex as it is now. And in that time, we had a chance to invite a lot of people for lectures or for workshops and so on. And many people from the ashram and even from Singapore, not Kani came from Singapore. And they brought lots of people and they started supporting us. And with them also came Huta from the ashram in Pondi. And we became great friends. Shraddhavan and Huta especially, they met almost every week or so. And then Huta thought she's actually looking for a place to store her 472 oil pictures, which she had worked out in the 60s over a period of 10 years, guided by the monk. So we did, of course, we were very happy about it, but I had problems because our master plan didn't foresee a big art gallery, and it has always consequences, especially in the tropics, where there's ultraviolet light, there's high moisture and fungus and vandalism and so on. This is a big responsibility, so we had to discuss all this. But we worked it out with Huta, and she was very happy that we looked after. The originals are stored in a basement room without windows where we only dry the air. Through this we avoid air conditioning, which would be not possible because an expert from Italy told us if you go for air conditioning it must be 24 hours and 360 days. If there is one gap in between, the moisture will condense on the pictures and create fungus. So, when we showed to Huta a reproduction and the original, she said, oh, that is quite good, it's a good solution, we show the reproductions. So what we have in the gallery are actually reproductions like those here. And that's how it developed. And the condition of Huta was that we create a permanent show of all her pictures. 472 pictures, but in 2 building phases we could offer this. And if I remember well, in 1918 we could show all the pictures. The way you can see them now, you must have been there. This is a little bit about the relationship between Savitri Bhavan and Huta. Now I can ask Alexander, are you ready to go on?
Dear friends, the exhibition that we are going to see today, brought to you by Savitri Bhavan, is not yet another art show. It is not art in the usual sense of this word. It is not meant to excite our mental by creating new ideas. It is not meant to stimulate our vital, which is so much appreciated in contemporary art. It is not art for art's sake, although it is definitely transformative. It therefore defies all the criteria of art criticism and probably cannot be easily approached from that direction. So the pictures that we are going to see today are the result of deeply personal experience of the spiritual epic Savitri. It evokes certain images and ideas that come from the much higher levels of consciousness than our usual level. And its value lies in precisely its ability to communicate those higher levels of consciousness, those inner experiences on which these paintings are based. And in this regard, we may recall the saying of the mother that the time spent in the atmosphere of Savitri is never wasted. It is a great challenge to illustrate a spiritual epic. How to approach it? Would the artist have enough depth to explore the text? It is enough of a challenge if it is one person who has ideas or visions and who expresses it with his or her brush. It is more of a challenge when there are two people involved. The person who has ideas, visions, and the person who is an instrument in putting them on canvas. Let us not forget that when this cooperation between the mother and Huta was going on in the 60s, the mother was already in a highly advanced age. Her hands shook, and despite all this, she was able to create the sketches, hundreds of sketches on the basis of which these paintings were completed by Huta, who may not have had the visions the mother had, but who was able to bring those images to us. The account of how Huta worked with the mother and how she struggled with herself, how she struggled with her lack of faith and confidence in herself in the context of this gigantic project, is given by Huta herself in the book, My Savitri Work with the Mother. You can all have a look at it at the reception in Savitri Bhavan. I will not speak about individual exhibits, they should speak for themselves, but I will only draw your attention to two things. So the exhibition starts with a painting immediately on the left. The very first picture that Huta and the mother worked upon, and it illustrates the first line of the poem. The line that immediately sets the tone for the entire experience that unfolds later in 700 pages and immediately plunges us into the sense of mystery. The line that I'm sure all of you know. It was the hour before the gods awake. And another two exhibits that do not come from the visions of the mother, at least not directly. The pictures that frame the portrait of the mother in the center, they may not come from her experience, but they're nevertheless valuable, and what makes them valuable and special is mentioned here in the explanations. So I urge you to explore those explanations. So thank you very much for your attention, and please enjoy the show. Thank you.
I forgot two small things. The references on this text are to the very book Savitri, and the other texts are all from that book, my work with the Huta's work with the mother, which, by the way, Deshpande and Bhavan have encouraged her to write. And the second thing is that actually we wanted to use this occasion to show a book, the French translation, volume 3 of English of Savitri. I forgot the word. An Auroville Dominic is translating Bhavan's book, the English of Savitri. And last year we could produce 2 of them, the first 2 volumes, and this is the first in French. Thank you.
It is available also on our book. Is it possible to download it?
Download the book?
On our book. Is it possible to buy it in
You
PDF?
can buy it in Pontiac shop there. We are not really allowed to sell books, but I think we have a couple of numbers, and we give it a donation. You can get it here also.
Okay.
No, it's like this. This book has become pretty successful because immediately a couple of years, the Gujarati translation is on the table. It's finished, all 12, and now the French. So if you're in the French community, we let it known a little bit. It seems to be very popular.